Something you might not know about me is that before I started this YouTube channel, I actually worked in corporate learning and development for longer than I'd care to admit. So I like to think I know a thing or two about making slide decks. Back then, I practically lived inside of PowerPoint. But when a friend of mine recently asked me to help them put together a deck for a business proposal, I was really stunned by how outdated the whole process of manually creating slides still feels, especially now in 2025. You start by writing all your content in another app. Then you spend ages trying to format it so it looks half decent inside the slide editor. And if you make a mistake, or if you change your mind halfway through and you want to tweak the overall look and feel, it's never as simple as clicking one button. You end up going through and manually adjusting every single slide to get things consistent again. It took forever. And looking back, what really struck me was that we spent most of our time fighting with formatting instead of focusing on the actual content, which felt like it missed the point a little. Now, this video has been very kindly sponsored by Gamma, and I just want to be upfront about that from the start. Those of you who have been watching the channel for a while might remember that I've actually featured Gamma here before, but it was only when I sat down recently to try out Gamma 3.0 that I realized just how useful it would have been a couple of months ago when we were building that deck. Because the whole point of Gamma is to take those boring, repetitive, but very important tasks, things like polishing layouts and making sure that your formatting is perfect, and handle all of that for you automatically. But with the introduction of Gamma Agent, which is brand new, it goes way beyond that. So in this video, I want to show you everything that's new in Gamma 3.0, what makes it so different, and why I think it might just change the way that you create presentations forever. So if you've not come across it before, Gamma is a tool designed to take all the pain out of creating decks, documents, and visual content. Instead of having to start with a blank slide and figure out layouts, fonts, and formatting, Gamma builds the structure for you automatically. You just focus on the ideas, and it takes care of the design. That's been the core idea since the beginning, but with this latest update, things have taken a big leap forward because it's no longer just about saving you time on design. It's about helping you think better while you're creating. The big new addition is something called Gamma Agent, and the best way to think about it is it's like having an assistant with you who can not only clean up your slides, but actually help you research, edit, and reshape your content as you go. So if you're working on a presentation and you're not quite happy with the structure, or you want to make your argument stronger, or even find data to back up the points that you're making, Gamma Agent can do it for you right here in the app. And that's what I want to show you in this video, how Gamma isn't just speeding up the presentation building process, but actually changing it. So let's open it up and I'll show you how it works. Now, the fundamentals of Gamma are really simple. You're going to click on the Create New button, specifically the one with the little AI logo next to it, and that's where everything starts. You've got a few different options to get you going. You can paste in text, which is great if you're working with a bunch of rough notes or an outline that you've written somewhere else. Or if you'd rather have Gamma do the heavy lifting, you can just generate the entire thing from a one-line prompt in seconds. So for example, if you wanted to make a pitch deck for your business that sells bespoke dog leads and harnesses, you just type that in and Gamma will use that to start building the structure of the deck for you. And if you've already got existing material like a PowerPoint, PDF, Word document, or even something hosted online, you can click Import File or URL and pull that straight in. Whichever option you choose, Gamma will guide you through the process of giving it the information that it needs to build your outline. Once it's got that, you'll see the outline view appear on screen, and this is where things start to get interesting. This step is really handy because it lets you see the content before generating the full deck. You can switch between a more minimal or a more detailed outline. Pick a visual theme at the bottom, and the part that I like the best, even choose an art style for your images, whether that's photorealistic, illustrated, abstract, or line art. Once you're happy, you just press Generate, and in a few seconds, Gamma generates your first version of the deck for you. So far, so good, but this is where Gamma Agent really comes into its own, because now that we've got a rough deck in place, the agent can jump in and start helping to refine it. You just press the Agent button up at the top, and it opens in its own window here on the right of the screen. Now, I'm going to assume that you've probably worked with an AI agent before, and the good news is that's all the training that you need to be able to use this. Just speak to it like you would any other AI assistant that you've ever used. Let me show you what I mean. So I've got this deck that Gamma has just generated for me, and on slide 2, it's already added some interesting financial figures about the size of the target market, which is great because That's exactly the sort of thing that you'd want to open a pitch deck with. But right now, they're just numbers. They look impressive, but there's nothing to back them up. So I can simply ask the agent, can you add some reference points for slide 2? And just like that, a few seconds later, it comes back with sources for all of the figures on that slide. It's pulled in credible references automatically without me needing to leave Gamma or search for anything manually. What's clever here is that this isn't just a one-shot rewrite. I can keep the conversation going and ask it to refine, tweak, or experiment until I'm happy with the results. And if I want to compare versions, Gamma lets me do that too. I can keep the original version and switch to the modified one whenever I like. There's no need to commit straight away, which makes the whole process feel really flexible and creative. Let me show you some more examples of what it can do. Let's say that I've built my slides, but I'm not happy with how one section reads. Instead of me going in and rewording everything manually, I can just highlight that text and ask Gamma Agent to make this sound more concise or make this a bit friendlier. And within seconds, it rewrites the section in a way that actually fits the rest of the deck. It understands the context of what I'm doing, not just the words on the screen. It can also handle visual adjustments really cleverly. For example, if I ask it to make this slide more visual and less wordy, it fully understands the assignment and keeps the overall feel of the slide, doesn't lose any of the message that I'm trying to convey, but gives me exactly what I've asked for. And this is where I think Gamma really starts to stand apart from a lot of the other AI presentation tools. It doesn't just generate content and walk away. It stays with you while you refine it. You can iterate, undo, or completely change direction, and it keeps up. Another thing that I wanted to try was translation, because I've seen this feature mentioned quite a bit. So let's say that I've made this deck in English, but I need to share it with a client who speaks Spanish. No hablo español. All I have to do is open the agent and type translate this entire presentation into Spanish. And it just does it. The formatting stays intact, the tone is preserved, and even subtle phrasing is adapted so that it sounds natural in the new language. That's something that I've rarely seen AI get right. Oh, and look, these dollar values in the opening slides would be better if it were in euros for my Spanish client, so I'll just ask the agent to convert them for me. Easy. Let's talk visuals for a moment. I love that you can bring in what Gamma calls smart diagrams. So here, for example, this card is a bit wordy, and I do remember from my days of standing at the front of a classroom training people that most people don't actually read what's on your slide deck. So let's go to the agent and say create a diagram that better illustrates this. And it instantly builds one that fits the existing slide design. No dragging boxes around, no figuring out how to use a chart tool, it just looks good straight away. And with the deck almost finished, here's a feature that really impressed me. I can go back to the agent and ask, for example, overall, is there anything that I'm missing? Anything that might strengthen my pitch? The agent will then look at the deck as a whole and come back with suggestions right there in the chat, pointing out gaps, recommending new ideas, and even highlighting a few quick wins. I can then ask it to add those improvements automatically, and within seconds, I've got a set of additional slides that strengthen my overall argument and address the issues that the agent identified in the original version that would have taken me hours to do manually. Now, if you're working as part of a team, there is also a new workspace system built into Gamma 3.0 where multiple people can collaborate on the same presentations at the same time. You can even set permissions and keep your brand styles consistent across all your decks, which is going to be huge for businesses that need to keep everything on brand. But for me personally, I think the biggest thing that stands out is how natural it feels to work inside Gamma. You can tell that it was designed for people who don't just want AI to generate something once and call it quit. It's built for people who want to create with AI, not just use it as a shortcut. Now, obviously, this is a sponsored video, so I'm not here to give you a review in the traditional sense. But having spent a bit of time actually using Gamma 3.0 to build a few real projects, I can say that what's interesting about this update is how it changes the experience of creating content. I've used and continue to use a lot of AI tools, and most of them are very transactional. You give them a prompt, they spit something out, and that's it. But Gamma Agent feels more like a conversation. You can guide it, refine it, and almost workshop ideas with it. And that makes it feel far more collaborative than a lot of the AIs that I've tried. It's also refreshing that it doesn't just focus on speed. Yes, it is faster than doing everything manually, but the bigger benefit is that it keeps you in the creative flow. You don't have to keep jumping between your notes. a design app, and a search tab in your browser. Everything happens here. And as someone who's built more slide decks than I'd care to admit, that really does make a difference. You get to spend your time on the content, the story that you're trying to tell, and let Gamma take care of the structure and polish. So whether you're building a pitch, a report, or even a course presentation, like I often do, Gamma 3.0 feels like it was made for people who care about the quality of what they're creating, but don't want to spend hours fighting with formatting. So that's Gamma Agent, a genuinely interesting step forward for anyone who spends a lot of time building slides, documents, or visual content. For me, what stands out isn't just the automation, it's how thoughtfully it's been built. It feels like the people behind it actually understand the creative process and have found a way to make it smoother without getting in your way. If you'd like to try Gamma for yourself and see what the new Gamma Agent can do, I'll leave a link in the description below, or you can just head to gamma.app. That link will take you straight to the official Gamma site, so you can start exploring it for yourself. And thanks once again to Gamma for sponsoring this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.